to the man of the hour, Bill. Enjoy, everyone. Take care. Enjoy. I'll see you in a short while.
Thanks, Ricardo. As Ricardo steps off and Jacoby just joined us, Jacoby is also on our panel. Did everybody tell Jacoby that the last one to join the panel is the first one to sing the song? Did you heard that part? Just kidding. All right. We've got two groups here. The panelists is everybody you see on the screen. The webinar folks, that's all of you who are watching online. You don't get to see yourself on your screen, but you're still going to be stars in this session. You'll see why in a second. I need everybody to start out with a number. Everybody put your fingers up. Webinar folks, I want you to enter your number in the chat room. You're going to enter your number in the chat room. Fingers up. How good are you at virtual presenting right now if you're being super honest? 4 is the average in the education world. 1 means you barely made it onto this call. That's why I'm here, Bill. Teach me the tricks. 7 means I could teach this class. Are you kidding? Ready? Put in the numbers. And Latoya, what's the numbers on average in the panel? What do you think we're seeing? And I'm going to ask Jamie to look in the chat room and see what are we seeing there. Latoya, what do you see?
I'm seeing an average of 5 and 6s right now.
Excellent. And Jamie, I know it's scrolling super fast because there's thousands of folks in the webinar, but what are you seeing?
I'm seeing a lot of 4s and 5s. I see
Excellent.
an 8,
very normal.
A 2, but 4s and 5s mostly.
If you were data from Star Trek, you could read that and calculate the actual average. I'm sure we have some math scholars online that could do us. All right, let's see if we can get you up 1 number by the end of this call. Next, everybody go in the chat room and answer this question. What's the biggest worry you have with virtual teaching? What's the biggest worry? No right or wrong answer. I'm not fishing for anything specific. Some people it's, the tech features. How do I use this for this? Some people it's, I don't feel comfortable on camera. Some people it's, how do I get the students to even get on camera and stay on camera and be engaged? I'm going to ask Renisha to kind of look at the summary of the panel. Just what are you starting to see there? And Jacoby, you're going to add in. I'm seeing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Renisha?
I'm seeing engagement as like the #1 thing, and also tech issues as well.
Great. And pro tip, if the chat room's going too fast, folks, just put your cursor on it and click and it will pause. And then you can go right back in. Jacoby, anything else you're seeing?
Yeah, I also saw a lot of connection issues.
Connection, excellent. So, all right, let's jump into our first section. We call it lights, camera, action. Tip number 1, you don't want to be this person. You don't want to look like you're at the little kids table for Thanksgiving. This looks like a junior move. This is senior. Everybody adjust your camera so you just barely cut off the top of your head. I want you to actually cut off the very top of your head. Everybody at home, same thing. Well, this is going to feel a little bit weird, a little bit more excellent. Jamie, a bit more. It's going to feel weird the first few days, I promise. You're going to see slippage. You're going to be like this and this and this. But when you catch yourself teaching, oh, Bill said I got to cut that. Good. Be big on the screen, fill the frame. Number 2, what are you supposed to look at when you teach a class, and what does your eye usually look at when you teach a class? Raise your hand if you know what the answer to this one is. Latoya? This is my signal for you're on mute.
There we go. I think you should look directly into the to the screen. You shouldn't look into the camera because it looks like you're looking up. So you should look directly in front of you.
Good. Anybody else got a different thought? Here's what we used to teach broadcasters, Latoya and everybody. We do work with CNN, ESPN, ABC. So when you see them doing the news, this is what they've learned. Don't look at the camera, look through the lens. And pretend when you're doing the news that there's a family of 4 that lives inside the lens. It's a tiny little family and they live inside the lens. Deliver the news to them. So when you see newscasters have this powerful eye contact, that's their secret. Everybody in the count of 3, look right at the lens. Everybody, webinar folks and panelists, look right at the lens and the count of 3 say, and that's the news in your best news voice. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
That's the news.
That's the news.
All right, one more time. Let's do Stay Classy San Diego. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Stay classy, San Diego.
What movie is that from? Come on, what movie? I'm going to make this a competition. Every time I ask a question, it's a race between the panel and the webinar folks. Do the webinar folks answer it faster than the panelists? We'll have a little running friendly competition. So, and what's the answer?
Anchorman.
Anchorman.
And Ron Burgundy. Okay, so look at that lens. So everybody take your take your whole class, shrink it down and put it in the lens. That's the pro tip. Now, in a normal conversation, of course, you can look at the screen, the kids are talking, great. But whenever you really want their attention, look in that lens. Everybody got that one? Number 3, you want to be front lit, not backlit. What does that mean? Raise your hand if you know what the answer to this is. You want to be front lit, not backlit. Raise your hand if you know what that means. Exa, what's that mean?
Sorry. Oh, I am unmuted. Good. So that just means that the light should be coming towards the front of you instead of coming from behind you.
Perfect. Backlit is great if you're filming a murder mystery thriller, or if you're launching a new sci-fi series on Netflix and you want the eerie background. But for teaching, you want to be front lit. Let's make this a little bit more fun. Let's put up a poll, and everybody in the webinar, you're going to vote for who on the panelists is the most front lit. Who has the most light on their face? It's as simple as that. Who's got the most light on their face? Adam and Ricardo will launch a quick poll and let you vote. So what's the secret to be front lit? You want to have that window facing you. 2 windows is even better. You can have a lamp on you. 2 lamps is even better. Everybody vote for who you think is the most light on their face in that particular screen. No lobbying people, panelists. No slipping chocolates through the phone lines. Okay, is this the right list?
I think we might have a different list this time. All right.
Okay, so it might be
Roll
slightly
the punch.
different now. All right, we'll take that one down. And I can see, for example, Latoya is really well lit. Jamie's lit. Renisha. Now, lit, that involves alcohol. It means something slightly different, but being front lit. Okay, everybody understands front lit. Be big on the screen and look into the lens. If you have a chance, you even want to elevate. Everybody elevate your camera lens, so just be up a little bit higher. So you kind of put some books under it. This works if you don't have to type. If you don't have to type, you have to talk for 10 minutes straight. That's going to give you a slightly better angle for that. All right, let's shift gears from camera into how to be powerful with our bodies to get students to remember up to 15% more of what you actually say. I'm going to teach you a trick for body language that professional speakers use. But once I teach you all this trick and you go pro on the speaking tour, I get 10% of all t-shirt sales. Everybody agree to the terms of the deal? Webinar folks? Good. Need the money. All right. Everybody repeat after me. And those of you in the webinar folks, I want you to do everything the panelists are doing. You're going to feel silly. If at any point you feel silly, that's not the goal. That's just a bonus for me if you feel silly. But the more you do the silly things, the faster your brain's going to master the techniques. Trust me on that for a moment. Everybody repeat after me. 1D is content. Ready, go.
1D is content.
Make sure you're using your body. Put your fingers by your throat. Say 2D is voice. Go.
2D is voice.
3D is body language. Go.
3D is body language.
Put it all together. This will make sense in a minute, I promise. 1D content, 2D is voice, 3D is body language. Go.
1D is content, 2D is voice, 3D is body language.
I'm going to prove it from a different angle. Everybody in the webinar, go in the chat room and type any strong emotion. Jamie's going to pick one from the list, but type any emotion that you think is one of the strongest emotions you know. Type it in the chat room. Jamie's going to pick any one from the list that you put in front of her. Jamie, go ahead, and which one comes to your mind?
Angry.
Angry. Great. On the count of 3, I want everybody on the panel, all webinars, on the count of 3, I want you to say the word angry, but in the most boring monotone voice possible, like a robot. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Angry.
What you just did is 1D. It's a 1D speaking. It's strong language, strong content, but delivered in more or less a monotone voice. Most of what you hear in the education world every day, your faculty meetings, the classrooms, is 1D. 1D is not bad. It's about 20% effective. We've dial tested thousands of speakers. When you're in 1D, about 20% of what you say will reach the brain of the students. Now we're going to say that emotion in 2D. In 2D, the tone of your voice has to match the meaning of the word. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Angry.
Angry.
That's your anger? You guys are so zen and happy. One more time. Say angry like you mean it. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Angry.
Angry.
Very good. So two-dimensional speaking is when the word and the tone of your voice synchronize as they hit the brain. So instead of 1D where the word comes in mono, comes in one ear, in 2D it's coming in 2 ears. And it tests out at just a hair under 40% effective in terms of how much is reaching the brain of the students. Make sense in theory so far? It's twice as powerful because it's coming in stereo. Now we're going to do the same emotion in 3D. In 3D, body language joins the party. You're going to say that word angry with your eyes, with your face, with your hands, your whole body, just for effect. Webinar folks, you're going to vote which of these put in the chat room. You're going to say which of them does it the best. Who does the best 3D on the panel for this word angry? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Angry.
I wasn't so convinced. You guys are so happy, so jolly. But let's see what, Exa, what do you say? Who got some votes in there?
Looks like we've got votes for Adam. We've got votes for Rainisha.
That's good. All right. So what's the point, Bill? When you're in 3D, you're at 60% effective. It is a magic barrier you've crossed. When you cross 50%, no student can resist paying attention. When you're under 50%, we can listen to the teacher, but we can also do other things on the side. Think about other things, play with games, do this, do that. But when someone's over 50%, your brain keeps getting pulled back to pay attention, mostly because of the visuals. All right, let's prove it in a slightly different way. I'm going to challenge this group of educators. You're all real life educators. Who can tell me the definition of what a 3D speaker is that you just learned? Your own words is fine, but do it in 3D. Anybody want to go for it? What's a 3D speaker? But try to explain it in 3D. Amy,
Give it a
Lisa, you got some good answers. Go ahead, Exa.
So a 3D speaker is someone who takes the content, who is also taking their tone and their voice and putting it together with their body language to deliver and convey the message.
Excellent. Round of applause for Exa, being brave. Sometimes leadership is just having more bravery than common sense for 5 seconds. That's all we have to do. And she jumped in and nailed it. So let me test everybody. I'm going to say a word in 1D. I want you all to repeat it back in 3D. Here's my hint. Don't overthink it. Just become the word and how you say the word. You ready? Webinar folks, join in. Slowly.
Slowly.
Quickly.
Quickly.
Large.
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 Very small.
Very small.
Small.
From top to bottom.
From
Top
top
to
to
bottom.
bottom.
Top to bottom.
1 out of 3.
One.
Out of 3.
3.
The smartest teachers in the whole world are the ones watching this webinar.
The smartest
Smartest
teachers in the
teachers
world
in the
are the
whole
ones
world
watching this.
are the ones
webinar.
watching this webinar.
Great. How long did it take your brain to do that in 3D? Only 1/100th of a second. So you now know the pro tip that professional speakers use for body language, which is you don't get to decide what to do with your hands. Content does. You don't have to think about how to synchronize your voice. Your content is telling you, you just have to let them harmonize, like good Motown singers in the 60s. All right. You have to practice 3D presenting 55 repetitions before it sticks in your brain. It turns itself on and off, and students will just gravitate to you even more. The best people to practice on are innocent people in your private life. Practice on the dog, the cat, the kids, the neighbor from a safe social distance. And as you do those repetitions, it just becomes new. But until you get those repetitions in, how's it going to feel in real life the first time you try to do 3D in a class? How's it going to feel in real life?
Awkward.
Awkward, Jacoby. The only way to get to the mountain of smooth is to go through the valley of awkward. Everything your cognitive brain has ever mastered, no exceptions, it did learn the same way. How to ride a bike. Don't let go, Daddy, don't let go. Oh, I got this. How to touch type. how to walk, how to kick a ball, play an instrument. So you got to get through those first few repetitions and it becomes a new norm for you and a new norm for the students. Do you have to act out every single word like you're Marcel Marceau or Mr. Bean? No. Our research found that one gesture every few sentences is all you need to do, but the gesture has to match what you're saying or it doesn't work. Sounds like Eileen on the webinar is using the same example. Okay, now that you understand 3D, everybody ready to learn 4D? I need everybody, webinar folks too, stand up, adjust your camera angle and give yourself some wiggle room. Go ahead, stand up, give yourself some wiggle room. And teach you occasionally, you want to stand up when you teach. Most classes you might be sitting, but once in a while you just change up the energy and energy creates power for the students. So 4D has 3 different parts to it. I'll break it down to A, B, C. The first one is everybody make as big a rectangle as you can on your screen. Webinar folks too, move those fingers, make as big a rectangle. I want you to see your screen as almost like a living canvas. Everybody stretch the canvas a little bit. Now put some finger paint on the extra end of your fingers and finger paint a house for me. Maybe a little tree, smoke coming out of the chimney. Great, so number 1 is see your screen as a canvas and use as much of the canvas as you can. Everybody got that one? Number 2, show me depth. Show me depth where you stay big, but you go back. Going in, going back, Heisman Trophy pose. We had, so in one of the last sessions, good. So, all right, who can come the closest to the screen? Who can come closest to the screen? Good, excellent. So the second dimension of 4D space is using your depth. Third one, the following. Everybody let me finish, then I want you to do exactly what I do and I'll explain why in a second. But first watch me. Point number 1 in my class. Take a step, long pause. Point number 2, the material. Take a step, long pause. Point number 3 in this section of the material. Freeze. Everybody's do that with me now. Ready? Go. Point number 1.
Yes.
Step.
Point
Point
number
number
2.
2. Step. Point number
Number
3.
3.
All right. Now, if I'm teaching a class, how does me moving between my main points help the class pay attention? See if anybody knows this one. How does this help or why does it work?
I believe it just helps students identify like you transitioning from point to point. So not only do they hear it, but they also see it as well.
Excellent, Radisha. Why does that matter? Everybody on this call is a good writer. Everybody watching this webinar is a good writer. Am I correct? You put a period at the end of every sentence. Why do you put the period? Well, we're teachers, we have to. That's what we tell everybody else to do. Is that the only reason? No. What does a period, Jamie, what does a period mean to a reader?
It tells the reader to pause.
Hey, pause, that thought's done. I'm gonna start a new one in a second. Exa, what does a new paragraph mean? Exit.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, it just means that we're moving on to a new section, a different idea, a new thought.
Excellent. Latoya, what's a new chapter mean? And then I'm gonna ask Jacoby, what's a comma mean? Latoya, what's a new chapter mean?
Means it's the beginning of a new idea.
And Jacoby, what's a comma?
It's a slight pause between 2 connecting thoughts.
Excellent. In writing, we have this amazing set of tools called punctuation that help the reader track things much better. If we didn't have any punctuation, the words would kind of jumble, wouldn't they? Well, in nonverbals, when you're presenting and teaching online, you don't have any punctuation. So you use pauses, shifts, and space to help the students track you better, to help them follow the flow better in their mind. Make sense in theory? Great. Let's do a quick exercise. I'm going to ask you a question, all of you, in 1D. I want you to repeat it in 4D. I'll say something in 1D, you repeat it in 4D. X, I want you to watch this one. Just watch and tell me who does it the best on the panel. In the past, in the present, and in the future. Ready? Go.
In the past,
In the past,
in the
The present, and in the
present,
in the
future.
and in
future.
the future.
Oh, they're all pretty good. Exa, which one do you like?
That was tough, but I have to say I love the Vanna Whiteness that Renisha was giving out. That was really great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Here's my tip. Don't be afraid to go to extremes to be extremely effective. Most of it, when it comes to speaking and teaching, we're all like this amazing Ferrari, but we sometimes have the handbrake on when we drive. What does that mean? We're like this amazing Ferrari, but we sometimes have a handbrake on when we drive. Webinar folks or panelists, what does that mean?
We're holding back.
We're holding back. All of you are amazing educators. Everybody in your life, you're so incredible. You're so accomplished. You're so wonderful. And that's true. You're going 150 miles an hour, but you're capable of going 215. We've coached some of the most powerful educators and business leaders in the world. Who's the main person that holds you back?
You.
What's the solution?
You let yourself go forward.
Release the brake. Everybody say release the brake and do it in 4D. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Release the brake.
Release the brake.
It is a fundamentally different thing than work harder, than stay up late preparing more. It's about just let it go. You have an idea to use a silly prop and it's going to help their learning, you do it. You got to show some personality and stand up and move around, you do it. You do what your class needs you to do. Well, Bill, I don't always feel comfortable, but I don't care what you like. It's not about you. Who is it about?
Students.
It's about the students. You have many facets to the diamond that is your personality. The more you let them out in the right proportion for what you're trying to achieve with that lesson, the more powerful the learning experience is for the students. All right, everybody have a seat. Now, I want my 3D and 4D techniques back. Can I have them back, please? I want them all back. You can't have them anymore. I want to have them. Oh, no, you want to keep them? What do you got to do if you want to keep them? Latoya, what do you got to do if you want to keep them?
I'm going to use them. I'm going to keep them and use them.
And make them your own. Techniques come alive when you infuse them with your personality, your ideas. You don't need anybody to tell you what to say. You know what you want to say, but you got to let that come alive. All right, any questions on 3D, 4D? Let's give you a little tech feature. Raise your hand if you know how to show a slide on Zoom. Raise your hand if you know how to share a video on Zoom. Raise your hand if you know how to use the whiteboard for your whole classroom on Zoom. All right, so for a lot of the folks there on the panel say no, so let's do those really quick. It's the same secret entrance for both. Everybody give me a thumbs up if you can see share screen at the bottom. Webinar folks, you won't be able to see it, so we're gonna show you Adam's screen. At the bottom, you just go into share screen, but you can only share something that's already open on your desktop. So you have to have the slide open or the video open. Whiteboard will always be there. So to share a slide, super simple, Adam, let's give them an example. What do they do? Excellent. So you just double click on the slide you want to share, up it goes, stop sharing, take it down. We'll give you this at the end. These are some of the tips that we're covering in this webinar. If you want to share a video, it's a little bit different. What do you have to do before you share a video? Anybody know?
Make sure you share your sound.
Correct. What happens, Exa, if you don't press those two boxes in the bottom left corner? What happens if you don't press those boxes?
They'll just see the video, but they won't hear a thing.
You'll break the whole internet and you're going to have to buy us a new one, and they're so expensive. Gone up in price. So exactly. So you press those bottom buttons and you do it. Let's show a couple seconds of a video and make it a race. Webinar against the panel. Who can tell me what TV show my friend Giancarlo is from? Ready, Adam?
You know, for a public
Breaking
speaking
Bad.
guru, you don't say very much.
Nope.
Well, at least tell us why we're here.
We're here because we want to help everybody with their communication.
Good. All right. Who is he? What show is he on? Oh, webinar, folks. Crushed it.
Breaking Bad.
Harlem.
Breaking Bad, Cosell, and his new shows are Revolution. I
Godfather of
like to
Harlem.
see that. Jennifer. Yeah, Mandalorian and The Boys. That's his new show. Super nice guy. That's a lot with what we're doing with schools. All right. Questions about that? How to show a video. Now, whiteboard's a little bit differently. When you want to open a whiteboard, you go into share screen. At the top, you'll see whiteboard. But here's what's cool about the whiteboard. Double click on the whiteboard, Adam. Look at the top, you'll see you're viewing Adam Tracy's On the Room screen, and to the right, view options. Click on view options, panelists, and go to annotate. Go to annotate. So all educators, once you open your whiteboard webinar, folks, tell the students, go under view options and annotate. As soon as they do, a little toolbar will appear. As soon as you see the toolbar, let's start playing around with it. Start drawing, clicking, stamping, making things, building things. So you can have 20 students in your class or 100 all using the whiteboard. They could all type their name. They could all be coloring. What I like to do is, instead of having one student at a time go up to the board and work, I divide the screen up into sections, and I could have 4 students doing a problem at the same time, and all the other kids are watching them, and they could be interacting with the chat room, and then they get a chance to take a turn. Questions on the whiteboard. You can save these, you can prepare these, use them over and over. Excellent. All right, let's take that down. And Adam, I'm gonna do a little bit of audible. One of the most powerful features on Zoom, and the Zoom folks, by the way, we're doing all this free as our small way to help teachers, and Zoom's doing all this free as their small way to help. And they have the best breakout rooms. Now, there's lots of great technologies that are out there, and they're all super nice people. We get to work with all of them. But Zoom's breakout group, you're gonna fall in love with breakout groups. Raise your hand if you've done breakout rooms already. So how do you do them? Adam, how do you set up a breakout room for somebody who's never done one before?
Since we're in a webinar, we don't have the breakouts option, but if we were in a regular meeting, like a classroom, at the bottom here, you would see, oh, a lot of raised hands. You would see a breakout rooms button, and you'd click that button and you can sort people into their breakout rooms depending on how many folks. You can do it automatically. Once you've sorted people into their rooms, you can pop into the rooms and check on things, pop out of the rooms.
Well, let's pause right there, Adam. Let's go back to the basics. So all you do is go at the bottom. Only the host of the Zoom call can do it. Co-hosts can't do it, participants can't do it. You just click on that button and it'll say, okay, do you want 4 rooms of 5 people in there or 10 rooms of 2? You make that, press the button, and it automatically randomizes the students. You can set timers. It's super easy. Once you've done a couple, you're going to find, oh my gosh, this is really powerful. You can keep an eye on the students. I always tell them I'm listening to everything in the breakout group, and it takes them about 2 or 3 classes before they realize that's not true. Okay. Any questions about breakout groups? All right, let's jump into how you can get the students engaged and involved. Let's start with something called around the room. Everybody say around the room, but do it in 3D. Ready? Go.
Around the room.
Around the room.
Around the room.
When I'm teaching a class, I start with a quick question. Let's say all of you are my class. Panelists, give me a subject you might teach on. Give me any subject you might teach on. I'm going to ask Renisha to pick anyone that's coming in there.
How about Jake Bush?
What's that?
Any subject, or am I picking someone from the chat?
No, subject. What was Jake's subject?
I don't remember, but I see English, which I used to teach. It's always my
Okay.
favorite.
English. So let's pick a grade. Latoya, pick a grade.
9th grade.
9th grade. And somebody tell me, what would you be reading in 9th grade? Anybody give me, what would you be reading in 9th grade?
Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and
maybe.
Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet. Okay, I never read that when I was in school. Okay, so let's say you are my 9th grade class. I'm the teacher and we're covering Romeo and Juliet. You've been reading it. I'll say, all right, first quick around the room. No more than a half sentence answer. Pretend you're all 9th graders and you just started reading the book. No more than a half sentence answer. I'm gonna start with Exa, then Jamie, then Renisha. When you think about Romeo and Juliet, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? What's good, bad, or ugly? We're not judging. I think it's cool. I think it's lame. It doesn't matter. You can say whatever you want, but no more than a half sentence answer. Everybody understand? Exa,
A tragedy.
Jamie,
Bad timing.
Renisha,
Love.
love. Latoya, then Jacoby, then Adam. Latoya.
Conflict.
Everybody in the webinar put in, if you were in the class, what would your answer be? Conflict, interesting. Jacoby
Love, tragedy.
and Adam.
Mercutio!
You've missed your calling, thespian. Okay, now why would I start a class with an around the room? Because I got 5 things from that one student engagement technique. What are the 5 things I got out of that as a teacher?
You were able to assess student learning, like what they already know, prior knowledge.
Excellent. I get data of where your heads are. If everybody's talking about the romance side, I can adjust. If everybody's a different feeling, I can adjust. Number 2, you get data of where each other are. And the students start to pull each other into the subject. Number 3, I get a break. It's in my teacher union contract. As I'm listening to the around the room, I'm paying attention, but what can I do while I'm listening? What can I do while I'm listening to the around the room?
You're able to think about what it is that you're going to say next for students to feed off of what they're actually giving you.
Bingo, Latoya. I'm always one step ahead of the class. When you're one step ahead of the class, life is princesses and rainbows. When you're a step behind, wait, I'm not sure what we should do next, that's not a fun feeling. But I have time to take a sip. So these little tricks of audience engagement keep you a step ahead, and you don't worry because you can always adjust. The most important thing I get, though, is emotional connection to the subject in the class. It's disproportionately powerful. I'll prove it in a slightly different way. Raise your hand if you ever played team sports as a kid. Little team sports as a kid ever. All right, let's say all of us are little kids on a soccer team, but Renisha scores all the goals. She gets 30 goals a game. The rest of us never touch the ball once ever during the game. Everybody show me with your thumb, how excited are we about that game? How excited are we going to be? Renisha, you're not excited either with your 30 goals? Okay. You're a team player. I like that. All right. The game is not alive until we kick the ball. Then the game gets really interesting really quickly. All right. Show me with your fingers in a normal faculty meeting. Webinar folks, put your number in the chat room. In a normal faculty meeting, how many people usually dominate the conversation? Show me with your fingers. In a normal faculty meeting, how many usually dominate the conversation? Sometimes one, sometimes two, maybe three. In those scenarios, and all right, how about students? In a normal classroom participation, how many of your students usually dominate the conversation? 1, 2, 3. Now we don't want those students to shut up. We want everybody else to do what?
Speak up.
Okay.
Get in the game, baby. Life is not a spectator sport. Let's roll. So what does around the room do?
Involves everybody.
It gets the ones who maybe talk a bit too much to dial it back a hair, but it gets everybody else in the game. For 3 seconds, they're the star. They're touching the ball and they're emotionally in the flow. Here's why it's so powerful. When I teach a class, until every student says a word in the class, they're not actually in the class, psychologically. Until I get each student to say something, they're emotionally not present. If it's a poker game, they haven't put any money in yet. But as soon as they say a word, the game is afoot. So even though around the room takes a quick minute, it ups the engagement so high I can get a lot more content through. Make sense in theory? And you change the question every day. Now, why did I limit it to a half sentence answer? You can limit it to 1 sentence answer, 5 words, 3 words, but why did I put a time limit on the answer? What happens if I don't? Jacoby, what happens if I don't put a time limit?
Students wouldn't monitor their airtime.
Of course, it's not their fault, it's my fault. But if you have a short half sentence answer, it builds energy. But if you don't have a time limit, you lose energy. Everybody talks for a minute and all of a sudden you wiped out half the class. All right, here's an even more fun way to engage the audience. Keep using the chat room, but here's the funnest way. One is called a body poll. A body poll, we've done this in past teacher groups. Teachers said they love this technique. They've been using it and it works really well to engage the students. A body poll is where you ask a question and the students answer with their body. What body polls have we done so far on this call? Show me with your thumb. Everybody repeat after me. Show me with your thumb.
Show me with your thumb.
Show me with your thumb.
I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm teaching an econ class, high school juniors. I might pretend you're all high school juniors. I ask this question. All right, everybody put your thumb out like this. I start the class like this. Everybody thumbs out. Let me see all the thumbs. Adam, Latoya, let me see. Okay. Where would you say the economy is going to be in the world 10 years from today? Bill, I think it's going to go up, down, through the roof, or fall apart. Where's the economy going to be worldwide 10 years from today? All right, Latoya's frozen there. Freeze. Who's the most optimistic about the economy in the room? X is buying stocks. And who's the most worried about the economy? Jacoby and Adam, sell your stocks to Jamie and Exa and save the brokers. All right, Latoya, if you're frozen, you can go out and come right back in. Sometimes that'll fix it. Here's how powerful it is. I could call any one of you 6 months from today and you would remember where your thumb was related to the rest of the group. It's how strong it sticks in the memory. We remember about this much of what we hear, this much of what we see, but this much of what we participate with our bodies. So show me with your thumb is going to work to engage everybody within a second. Here's the other one you can use all the time. Everybody repeat after me. From 0 to 10, use your full screen. From 0 to 10, go.
0 to 10.
0 to 10.
10.
Give me any other subject. Let's have Jamie pick one. Pick any other subject that a high school student or middle school student might be covering.
Public speaking.
Public speaking. So I might start with this question. How much do you love public speaking? On the count of 3. 10 means, Mr. Hooktrip, is my favorite whole thing in the whole world. How'd you know? 0 means I hate it. I hate talking in front of other people. Any number in between. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Put your hands up. How much do you love public speaking? And good. So that's a body poll. And then I riff off the data and make the data come alive. The point of all audience engagement techniques is to make the students the star. When you make the students the star, you will shine more brightly as an educator. Many of us are trained, well, I'm the star when I'm the teacher. Yes, but you're also the director of the movie. And the more you can make the students the star of the movie, the more learning goes to a higher level. Okay, let's take body polls from theoretical, 0 to 10, show me with your thumb, into the more creative space. We're going to have a little friendly creation, an iterative process. I want everybody, webinar and panelists, to take 30 seconds and invent a body poll the world has never seen before. We're gonna have a couple of you do it on the screen, a couple of you in the webinar will read yours out loud, but you're gonna come up with a question. You ask us the question and tell us how we use our body to answer the question. I can give you lots of examples, but it's more fun to create them than to just watch them. What question do you want to ask us and how do we use our body to answer the question? Everybody understand the task? Take 30 seconds of quiet. Webinar folks, you can enter some in. We'll ask a couple for you. Panelists, we'll have 1 or 2 of you, whoever's feeling the spirit, do one out loud. There are a lot of messages on this in the webinar. We've got thousands of folks in the webinar. So good to have you here. All right, anybody feeling the spirit, want to go for it?
I could ask, on a scale of 0 degrees to 90 degrees, what's your energy level this evening?
Great, and what is, for EXA, what's 0 mean and what's 90 mean?
0 is no energy, all the way up is 100% I'm on fire.
Say 1, 2, 3, go.
1, 2, 3, show me, go. Lots of energy. Oh, some middling energy, some low energy. Someone needs a Red Bull. Great.
All right, fantastic. Way to jump in there and do one. Now, we're gonna do a couple more, but what does a body poll do? It's the same 5 things as around the room. What were they? I get data, you get data, I get a break, everybody's reconnected to the subject and to each other. It's a fast way to energize a group right back on the subject. And it's not just a silly poll, it's a poll that has something to do with the content. All right, let's get a couple more examples. Who wants to go for it? You can pick
I have
one.
an idea, but not everyone can do it. So I don't,
Go for it, Jamie.
I think with students it would work though. How stressed are you? If you're really stressed, I want you to like show it with your hair. And if you're not stressed, so in between, like really stressed, like this would be a little bit of stress and your hair all the way up would be a lot of stress.
All right.
It's going to be a little hard for some people. So
Say
sorry.
Say 1, 2, 3, go.
1, 2, 3, go. All right.
Excellent. So a couple tips I'm going to give you in between those, and everybody in the panelists either do one or pick one from the web that you can read out loud. But one is what I just taught Jamie and X is you want to have a little trigger. What does that mean? They don't know when to go unless you tell them. You could say on the count of 3 or 3, 2, 1, or when I say go, but just create a trigger. And when everybody goes at the same time, it's better energy. Tip number 2 is when they give you their answer, you're halfway done because the data becomes clay and the clay needs to come alive. So just comment on what you see. Oh, what'd you do this? And who's the most and who's the least? And use as many names as you can. And that's what makes it really come alive. All right, who wants to share another one? Go ahead, LaToya. This means you're on mute. That's all right. All right, keep trying to see if we can get yourself unmuted. I see a couple good ones in there. Anybody want to do Megan's painting or drawing? If you can't see it because they're scrolling so fast, I'll do it. So Megan's got a great one. Which do you prefer, painting or drawing? You're going to show me with your body which one you prefer, painting or drawing. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. All right, we've got some real painters. Jamie's not so sure.
I was frozen, sorry.
Okay, excellent. Very good. Excellent, Megan. That's a great one. All right, let's,
Can you guys hear me now?
yes.
Okay,
Latoya,
great.
way to be persistent.
I'm sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. But I do have a good one. If a student, so if you are liking the class, move to the right side of your screen. If you dislike the class, you're going to move to the left side of your screen. I need you to do that in 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, go.
Excellent. Round of applause. All right, I see another one in the web group. Everybody, on the count of 3, show me with your body language your favorite sport to play when you were little. What was your favorite sport when you were little? Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. So we got some runners, maybe some tennis, basketball, video games. That's not a sport. Is it a sport? Tennis?
Sport.
Bowling? Adam? Okay, we'll give it to you. All right, excellent. So let's go to Elizabeth's question. What do you do when students aren't on camera? I've got some thoughts here, but it's always good to wrestle with it. What do you do when students aren't on camera? How do you get them onto camera? Anybody have some thoughts? Webinar folks as well?
Yeah, we actually place students back into the waiting room, and then we send them a message asking them to put their cameras on. Once they put their cameras on, we pull them back into the room.
Good, excellent. We're almost out of time here. Good, one more.
I think it's also important to give students rationale as to why they need their cameras on. So I've been saying that it's for participation, but also to ensure that it is a safe learning space and that the right people are in the right class doing the right thing. And for the learning community as well.
And what I find too is I like to do a gentle pull, not a hard push. So when I do these body pulls and they start seeing other kids on camera and they start seeing that it's safe, they gently get pulled in by each other. But I'll even say, okay, I need everybody on camera, let's go. Now, once in a while, obviously there's an issue on their side. Okay, we're gonna wrap up with Ricardo coming back and Adam. Adam, what do we gotta do?
Everybody go to the chat. I just dropped a few links in there. I'm gonna pop them in there a couple times so people can see them. There's a survey. At Own the Room, we don't just ask for feedback politely, we demand feedback. We thrive off of it. I want everybody to go open that survey link, do it before we close this so it doesn't disappear for you, and fill out that survey in the next 90 seconds. Additionally, there's a couple of links for you to help you. There's a Virtual Ninja checklist tip sheet. Click on that, download that, and use that in the next time you're going to do one of your classes. Gets you ready to frame yourself, front lit, plus some of the exercises we went through here, body polls around the rooms, things like that. Over to you, Ricardo.
Oh, that classic muting, right? So as always, an amazing webinar. We had a really full house today, and naturally a lot of questions that were coming through chat as well as in the Q&A panel. So almost impossible to answer every single one. Before we officially close out, I just want to mention a couple of things that Bill and Adam were talking about or showcasing in today's webinar. For sharing material, for polls, for breakout rooms, anything that you are interested in learning more about, we do recommend that you spend some time over at our support site, support.zoom.us. It was just a little impossible to answer every single question that we came across in Q&A. So the best thing for you to do is use the search engine in the support site to be able to read some articles pertaining to those features. And then finally, wanted to mention with regards to webinars that we provide, right? If you are interested in actually registering for any webinar that we provide in order to get much more time on breakout rooms and polling and other things that we actually cover, simply visit zoom.us/events. Take a look at the registrations, or I'm sorry, the webinars that we provide. And if there's any ones that you are interested in attending, just simply register, and then we'll take it from there. So with that being said, again, this session was being recorded, so you'll be provided with a follow-up email. It will contain a link so that you could watch today's session at your convenience. And that should be it. So great session, Bill. We certainly appreciate everyone's participation in the chat panel. Panelists, good job. And I hope that you all had a great time in today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will see you again. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.